Welcome back to the Football Betting Tips and Strategies series. As always, before we jump into the video, don't forget to follow the Football Bank on Instagram and have notifications for stories turned on to get live tips straight to your phone. It's very important to have notifications turned on because I do post in-play bets to the story and you want to make sure that you can jump on those at the right time. Follow the Football Bank on Instagram. We know which leagues to look at and which to avoid, but what about analysing an upcoming game for a both teams to score bet? What are the factors that I would look at pre-game? Well, the first one is form XG. In another video, I discussed how to calculate the expected goals for each team for an upcoming game using their seasonal goals scored at home and away. Now, what I do like to look at personally is something called form XG. So what I will do is look maybe 3 or 4 games back, and I will look at how good the team are at creating scoring chances or expected goals compared to the rest of the league, and then rank them accordingly, their position in the league. So are they a good team for creating chances, or are they a bad team? And based on that form XG, and actually form XG conceded, so XGA we covered in the video, if their XG and XGA is high enough for both the attacking, for both the home and the away team, then that would be considered a good indicator for both teams to score bet. The next one is actual performance versus XG, the actual form performance versus XG. So it's all good and well looking at, how good a team is at creating scoring chances, but how good are they actually converting the XG into goals? There's no point if the team is creating lots of scoring chances but not scoring any goals, because we're not betting on chances, we're betting on goals. So we do want to look at, compared to the expected goals, what are the number of actual goals that they're scoring? If it's significantly lower, then that's going to be a problem. And conversely, the other way it works is if their XG is kind of low, but then their actual performance versus XG is high. So let's say their expected goals over the last 3 games, the average is 1 XG per game. They're only creating an expected goal of 1 per game, but they're scoring, let's say, 2.5 goals a game. Then that's a good indicator that, they're going to continue their scoring. We don't know where they're creating their scoring chances from, but they're getting goals, and that's what we need. So we've got form XG and actual form performance versus XG. The third indicator we're going to look at now is seasonal goals scored home and away. This you can use maybe a third of the way into the season or halfway. I don't like to rely on it too early on in the season because there's too much variability. But what we're looking at here is, for the home team, when they're playing at home, do they score more than 1 goal a game on average at home? And do they also concede more than 1 goal on average? So that's for the home team. And for the away team, do they score more than 1 goal per game away from home? And do they concede more than 1 goal away from home per game? I'm confusing myself there. But the idea is the ratio of goals scored and goals conceded per game more than 1? That's what we're looking for. And the reason we look at it home and away, specifically for home and away teams, let's say you've got a team who, if you look at their combined home and away performance, they're scoring more than 1 goal a game and they're conceding more than 1 goal a game. But this week they're playing away from home. And when we look at their away performance over the course of the season, they concede, let's say, 1 goal every 2 games, then that's going to be a concern when we're analysing the game. If they play very defensively away from home and don't concede many goals, then it's going to be a negative indicator for both teams to score betting. The fourth factor we look at is previous meetings both teams to score. So you can quite easily find this data online, but when the teams have played each other, how has the game resulted in both teams to score? And the reason, some people say it's, how can you look at data from 3 years ago and use this as evidence? Well, the thing is, when we're looking at form XG and how the team performed in the last 3 games, that's against completely different teams. You know, when we're trying to analyze the upcoming game, how can you say that the way, let's say, Crystal Palace play against Manchester City, it's not going to be the same way that they play against Fulham? So that's why I like to look at the previous meetings both teams to score. When they've played each other in the past, has it resulted in high scoring game or low scoring game? And has it resulted in both teams to score and not both teams to score? And what that can show you, if in the past 6 games, most of the games have ended 0-0, 1-0 or 0-1. Even if the form XG tells me, hey, both teams are quite good at creating chances and both teams are good at creating goals. Well, when they play each other, they don't score goals. Why is that? Because they're probably going to approach the game in a cagey manner. Okay, they're going to play very cautious. They're wary of the other team's attacking threat. And so they're not going to commit as many men forward, and they're not going to create as many scoring chances, and therefore they're not going to score the goals. So that's why we do look at both teams to score the previous meetings. Given it is, some of the data in that data set is 3 years old, 2 years old, things will have changed. Sometimes the managers changed in that period. Teams' play styles can change, but generally you would say, based on the quality of the players available to a particular team, the play style shouldn't change too much. So it's one to keep an eye out. I wouldn't say it's my favorite indicator, but something that I definitely do consider in my pre-game analysis. 3 more factors, and the next one is expected play style. And that actually factors or follows on nicely from the last point that we were talking about. Say 2 big teams, we've got Tottenham against Manchester City. And I use Tottenham example specifically because when I look at the expected play style, we expect Manchester City to be attacking in the game, but given that the coach of Tottenham is Antonio Conte, who is known for his kind of setting up quite defensively against big teams, then I think the incidence of both teams to score is going to be quite low. And let me explain that. When you've got 2 big teams, the bookmakers immediately think, oh, both teams are going to score. We're going to price the odds for this game very harshly for both teams to score. So maybe even 1.4. For Man City, Tottenham, check it yourself. Next time they play each other, 2 big teams, the odds for both teams to score is going to be very, very low. But let me tell you, the way Conte sets up, he's going to make it very, very difficult for Manchester City to score. And Manchester City know that Conte's Tottenham are going to make it difficult for them to score and try to catch them on the counter-attack. So because of that, they're not going to attack as much. They're going to try to attack, but they're not going to throw people forward like they would do against Fulham or Nottingham Forest or, a weaker team. So you've got Manchester City, who are a very good attacking side, but not attacking to their full potential. And Tottenham under Conte, who are going to be defending everyone back behind the ball. Now tell me how many goals you expect to be scored in that game. It's probably going to end 1-0 or 0-1 to Tottenham or to Manchester City. So both teams to score, especially when you're offering me odds of 1.4, is just not a good value bet. The other one expected play style that I like to avoid entirely is a very big team against a small team. So when I say very big, looking at the major European leagues, Bayern Munich, PSG, Manchester City, Liverpool, if they're playing a small team, like a newly promoted team or a team that's considered small in the league, not very good at attacking, when we look at the expected play style, what's going to happen? The big team is going to come out and attack, and the small team is going to sit back, much in the same way Conte's Tottenham would sit back and kind of park the bus. But what you don't have with Conte's Tottenham is the attacking threat. So for both teams to score betting, it's just not worth the risk to say, hey, you know what, we know Manchester City are going to score, but basically what we're betting on is the chance of Watford or any other kind of weaker team scoring. There is an exception to this, and if one of these big teams is on a kind of poor run of form, and I'm thinking especially of Liverpool at the start of this season, then maybe you can consider this kind of very big team versus small. And I know Bayern Munich at the moment are not going through a good patch of form either. If it's two big teams and one of the coach is defensive, I stay away from the game. If it's two big teams and both attacking coaches, think Liverpool's Klopp against Guardiola's Manchester City, then go ahead, place the bet, because I think those games have always ended 1-1, 2-1, always both teams to score. But the other one I like to stay away from is a very big team versus a small team. I don't think it's worth the risk in terms of hoping that the small team can make a goal from very few scoring situations. Next thing I like to look at is team strengths and how they complement each other. So I've covered this in another video on betting tools that I use, and it's the Who Scored website. So they give you an indication of what teams are good at, whether it's attacking down the wings, set pieces, and what they're bad at. So they could be bad at defending set pieces, they could be bad at defending through ball attacks. So it tells you for an upcoming game what the team is good at, what the team is bad at, and what I like to compare is look at, let's say the home team is good at attacking set pieces and the away team is bad at defending set pieces. Then we are expecting that there is going to be a high chance of a goal from a set piece. So what we do is we look at what both teams are good at, what both teams are bad at, and see if there's any that kind of complement each other that could result in scoring or a greater chance of scoring situations. And then staying with Who Scored, the last one is their preview function. I just like to use this as an indicator. I think not sponsored by Who Scored. If they do want to sponsor me, that'd be great. But I think they are very good in terms of the analysis that they carry out. The team strengths is a very useful tool. But generally they are good at catching onto whether it's going to be a low scoring game or a high scoring game. So it's something that I use for kind of confirmation. If I do my research and then if Who Scored come to a different result to mine in terms of both teams to score, then I'll look back and see, why did we reach a different position. It's always good to have a kind of second opinion on things. So definitely I use, not ashamed to admit it, you should use as many resources as you can. And I think the Who Scored preview is a very good tool for that. Thanks for watching the second part of the Both Teams to Score mini series. Please stay tuned for part 3 and part 4. Until next time, goodbye.